fine. So I was actually going to start right at right at 11:45.
Okay.
So I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of, since we're doing this together, to kind of make it like a live training opportunity, so that people can kind of sit through and watch this process being built in real time. Because most of the time, what we do are kind of there's somewhat realistic examples of what would happen in the real world, but not a real complete real world example like we're actually going to do for you. So you got any issues with that?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool. So I don't have any problem just going ahead and starting right now. All right. So basically this is it. This is your bot that we're going to go ahead and do the build on. All right. So if you want, why don't you just kind of explain to me a little bit of what you're struggling and what it is that we need to go in and actually accomplish here.
So if you go in, can you see all my flows or can you just see the one that I sent you?
No, you sent me actual. So what you sent me was you went to
Okay, yeah.
settings, you went to admins, and you got this link right here, and you sent me this link, which essentially makes me, from ManyChat's, thank you so much, Topos. From ManyChat's perspective, it makes me an admin of your page. It doesn't make me an admin of your page from Facebook's perspective, but from ManyChat's perspective, it makes me an admin of your bot where I can edit your bot and change your bot.
Got it.
So
Okay,
yeah,
so
I
if you
can
go
see
back,
everything just like you.
okay, so if you go back into the flows, so I have a credit application and then I also have a trade-in and schedule a service. So what I'm trying to do is build out like a questionnaire per se, kind of like you did the other day where you ask questions and then you can go back and show them the questions and see if they want to change any of the answers.
So which one of these would you say you are the most closest to having complete in your flow?
So, so, so the credit application is actually pretty much done. It's just I'm confused on what actions and what conditions need to be created in order for it to flow in the way that it needs to flow and then be delivered via email to who it needs to be delivered to.
Okay, I could see where you're. So I could see where you're actually. I could see where you could be, somewhat actually confused here, because as I'm a little bit confused as well. So let's just look at it again, because I saw a completely. So you see what I'm seeing here
Yeah.
is is very different than what I'm seeing whenever I actually go to edit this, which means that you've actually made a lot of changes here and you've removed almost everything, but you haven't published it. So what I'm seeing here is what they're showing me here is an unpublished version. All right. Um, so I think that will allow me. Nope, that doesn't allow me to edit it. So I'm not really sure, honestly, from ManyChat's perspective, what the purpose is of showing me this thing right here when there's nothing that I can actually do with this, because
So I must have deleted that because I was trying to figure out what to do. Um, Let me pull up my.
let's just copy this and see if we copy it, if that will give us a full flow. And it looks like that will give us a full flow that we're wanting to actually work on. So there's the full flow that
Okay.
that is the current version. What we're seeing over here on what we're seeing here is we're seeing that full version initially, but since you've actually modified it, and whenever we go to actually edit it, then what we're seeing is the save modification that's unpublished. All right. So to get around that, to go back to the original flow that you actually have published right now, we're just going to go and we just copied that flow. And now that we've copied that flow, I'm pretty sure that this is going to error out, because I'm pretty sure you've got way too many of these, because
Yeah.
you can only have 2 of those. So I'm sure we're going to get an error there. But it didn't give us an error, but you can only have 10 of these. So maybe they did change that where you could have more of these guys. So first, kind of let's check out what you've got going on here. So you route a user goes in. How does a user get into here?
So when they first see the message in the chatbot, they can view inventory, fill out a credit application, or call the
So
dealership.
So basically, in some other flow, there's a button, and they click that button, and it has a go-to flow sequence, and it routes them in here.
Yes.
Okay, so you start out by saying by clicking submit, I consent to have my credit file assessed. So before I even continue reading this does not seem like it's a starting step. This seems like you would go in and first have a starting step that says, hey, let's go ahead and fill out your credit application. Let's get started with the process. And then once they fill out all these questions, it seems like after they submit all these questions, then you're going to present them with this by clicking submit. You consent to have your credit. Are you sure you want this message to be the very first message that they get whenever they go in and start this process?
So because it is going through the chatbot and it's not like on an actual website where it's like secure. I put the disclaimer first, and then at the end of the bot, it says, this is not a secured site. We will have someone, one of our staff contact you shortly to finish your application.
So yes, it should be the first step, is what you're saying.
I mean, what is your opinion?
Well, whenever you say by clicking submit, it seems like they're not going to click submit until way down here somewhere, right? So here actually at no point is there any submit. So here at no point whatsoever is there any button even where they're going to click and hit consent. All right. Now, next thing that I see. All right. First off, the next thing that I see, before we go and actually build this out, let's first dissect it and tell you what I see that I really, really hate. Okay. And some of these things that I really hate are these redundancies right here. Okay. You see these redundancies? You've got first off, all right, this is your credit application flow. So essentially you're referring to yourself right here. Okay. So if you're referring to yourself, you don't actually need to do this. All you need to do is get rid of that guy and then just essentially grab this guy down here and do in programming what's called a loop, and just loop this guy right back to the beginning. That's because that's essentially all you did in the other thing, right?
Oh, gotcha.
And the other thing, all you did is route them right back to this flow, which essentially would have dropped them right into this starting step. So instead of having to go to flow there, where now it's a little confusing if you don't know what that flow is and what's going to happen, now it's pretty clear cut that you can see, hey, if you click this, take me back, you're just going to route me back to this starting step again, right? So that makes it a little clearer. Now, the next thing is you have this no thanks. It routes to this temporary message that says, hey, what else can I assist you with? Which is the same guy right here. Okay. So essentially what I would recommend here is now you have, so the only issue why we couldn't do that is because you have different guys here. So is there any reason that here at the end, you're giving them these three options, but here at the end, you're giving them these three options?
Actually, we could reroute them back to that guy. I just didn't know how to go about doing that because it wasn't on its own block.
So essentially what you could do is you could just come down here and you could continue automatically. And then you could just take that guy and route him in there. And then you could just get rid of this entire guy. We could just delete this entire guy. That's one thing that we could do. But you do need to notice that these are exactly the same, except for on this guy, you have trade in /sell. On this guy, you have contact us. So
so we can actually take that message right there off and just reroute him from the other block back in there.
So take this off is what you're saying.
No. We leave that there. You can take the other one off because the call us, they have that option in another in the beginning.
Is this in the menu?
Yeah.
They have a call us option in the menu?
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially what we would want to do then is have this guy here and take this guy and make him where he's not calling a phone number, where he's going to actually go to a flow and he's going to be called trade and sell. All right. So now essentially he is that guy right there. And essentially we can grab this guy and delete him. And then we can take this guy and route him right in there, right? So now we have the exact same 2 blocks right here, right?
Yeah. But
So
do
now,
we need the same blocks? Can't we just
no,
go from?
we're going to get rid of that guy. So now
Okay.
essentially we've done that, and now we can get rid of these other redundant things, right? We've got 2 things here that are really redundant because I don't need to, if I'm going to reference this guy, you know what I can do? All right. Let's say I could do a split test, and I'm just doing this to show you that you can do this for no real reason other than that. You see, I've got 6 little dots coming from this guy. There's nothing that stops me from taking all 6 of these guys and routing them all to the exact same thing. Okay. Since I
Gotcha.
can do that, since I can route all 6 of these guys to the exact same flow, that means that there's just no logical reason whatsoever for you to have this go-to inventory flow repeated twice. All right. Makes sense. If you need to repeat it twice because you're going to do something like that, let's say you need to repeat it twice because you're going to have this guy that's going to continue automatically and you want to route him to that flow next, then essentially all you would want to do is route this guy to that flow and have 2 guys going into that flow and then get rid of this guy because he doesn't need to be repeated twice. Make sense?
Got it.
So now we kind of clean that guy up. And now it makes it a little bit more clear cut for us to understand exactly what's going on here. And we can see that there's no redundancies. Now, if there was a redundancy, meaning we had 2 different things like this, we had this guy and this guy had a redundancy, meaning he's routing to the same place as somewhere else, we could easily visually identify that we have in this flow, we have 2 different ways to get to this same thing. Now, that's a very easy visualization that doesn't take even being scrolled out like this, where I can't even see what this flow is. I can understand that 2 places point to the exact same flow. Whereas what you had, if I have this and I have, let's say, I'll just copy this guy and paste him in there and do that. Oops. So now I did it again. I'm sorry. Totally did it again. So now for me to identify this redundancy, thank you so much. It means that I really have to scroll in here and look and see, okay, I've got this flow, I've got that flow. So from a high level, when I'm just observing at a high level like this, I can't get that very fast visual information to make me understand really what's going on here, which is why I don't want that, because I can't understand that these are the exact same guys, all right? But if I have this like this, where this goes in and he continues automatically, and he routes in like that. Now from a high level, very quickly, I can understand, even looking at this, that this flow right here has 2 different entry points. There's 2 different ways that I can drop somebody into that flow and send them to that flow. All right. So we just prefer to do that. And in computer engineering, that's what's called normalization, removing redundant pieces of information and never repeating the same piece of information twice, because it's just not necessary. All right. So now that kind of clears up your ending here. All right. You've routed this person back here, which makes it clearer to understand that, hey, this is a loop back here. And then now we'll go into the meat and bones of this. Whenever somebody says yes, you're going to add a tag that says that they've started their credit application. All right. So, and you're going to notify admins that this guy has started their credit application, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of that guy. I'm also going to get rid of that guy. And I'm going to take this guy, and I'm just going to move him over there because there's way too much shit going on over there. All right. So now I'm going to move this guy up here. First, I'm just going to do a little bit of organization so that we can clearly see what's going on here. All right. I can clearly see now that this is, for you guys that watched that last Facebook video and I was showing you what we're going to do in this training session, and I told you we're going to go over some of the basics, just the really, really basics of computer science. Wherever I put those basics, I believe they're right here. And those aren't them. I don't know where the hell they're at, but who cares about them, because I already know them because I'm a computer engineer. Maybe these are them right here. So in these basics, one of the first things that you need to understand in computer engineering is a sequential programming, okay? And how blocks of code, because essentially that's what we're creating here is a mini computer program, even though we're not writing any code. A bot's a program, we all agree there, right? So in order to really optimize this, we need to understand these basics. And this sequential commands, this is the most basics of computer engineering that kind of shows you the sequence in which something is going to flow, all right? So now essentially that's what we've done here. Essentially what we've done here is shown this sequential command that I'm going to come in here. I'm going to present you this information. Now, if you hit yes, all right, now I'm going to break you off and I'm going to take you over here into a different direction. If you hit no, I'm just going to linearly continue down into this sequence and ask you this. All right. Now, if you are to go in and hit take me back, then I can see that I'm just going to route you right back up here. All right. So this is kind of like a linear sequence here that we've broken up into places. If you hit no thanks, and I'm going to route you right back into this next linear sequence here. And then I'm going to give you some call to actions on what you can do these little things over here. All right. So we're going to go stack these blocks up over here so that they're nice and organized and make sense. All right. So now quickly, I've got a very good understanding of exactly, here's my top down sequential thing that if I am going to hit no to all these options, I'm just going to present you top down this data. If I hit yes to one of these options here, then I'm going to bring you over here and start a new route. Or if I hit any of these things, I'm going to bring you over here and just do another one of the basic computer science fundamentals, which is called a go-to statement, which is literally I go from a sequential manner, a top-down, go this guy first, then this guy to this guy, to being able to pick and say, hey, for example, if I was doing an actual program, then I would have something like this in my sequential manner: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and at step 3, right, in a go-to statement, I could say go to 5. Now, essentially what would happen is this process and the sequence would not get executed because this go-to statement right here would jump right over that guy and send us now to this guy right here, which is essentially what we're doing from a computer engineering standpoint. We're just breaking out of a linear sequence and saying, hey, jump to this complete other spot. So now all that's clear. All right. So now here we understand here, we've got this credit application right here. So now what I want to do, because I want this to be, look, I want when you present this to your client, I want them to fucking love you and pay you twice as much money as they already have agreed to. All right. That's really what I want to see happen. So in order to do this, we need to make this really, really user friendly. And what's standing out to me right now is obviously this is a credit application for a car dealership, right? So,
right.
So now could you imagine if I'm a user and I go in and I start filling out this credit application and I get to right here, and I have a question and I ask you some, I want to ask you some question, right? Well, right now, essentially what's going to happen is if I ask you some question, well, guess what's going to happen? Right now, you're just going to put that question always in free keyboard input. All right. So if you're asking me what's my job title and I got some free keyboard input and I want to ask you, hey, what time are you open? Can I come in right now and just fill this out online? Well, guess what? You're never going to answer that question for me. That question is going to get lost. I'm going to stick that question that I'm asking you inside this job title custom field. And I'm just going to completely ignore your question. And I'm going to move you in here to who is your employer. All right. And you could obviously assume that our users are really, really stupid. And they're most likely going to do that to us all the time. All right. Most likely they are going to go in and do some really stupid stuff. So I want them to be able to exit this process because maybe they make it right here and they got to do something else. So I want them, if they ever come back to this flow, I want them to be able to exit this and come back in and not have to go back and answer all these questions that they've already answered, right? Because if they have to do that, they're going to be really pissed off, and they may never finish this application because they never have time to make it all the way down here. And every time they have more time, you route them all the way back to the beginning and they have to start all the way over again, right? So we want to essentially change that up by having a custom field called credit application current step. All right, and we're going to make this a number. The step in the credit application the user is currently on. Step number 0 is the beginning So step number 0 is going to be the beginning informational part of this application. All right. So that means that this guy right here is going to be step number 0. All right. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add some action. And this action is going to be, I'm going to set a subscriber custom field, and I'm going to go in there and do something like credit application current step. And I'm going to set this value to a 0. All right. And now just temporarily, I'm going to make this my starting step, and then I'll route that guy right in there. Okay. So now I know that this guy has essentially started this. Now I could go ahead and also add this tag there, but you don't want to add that tag there until they hit yes. All right. So now from here, let's start. And essentially what we need to do here is just replace this. What is your first name? Why are you asking this? I already know their first name, right? I already have their first name. So I don't think you really need to ask this question, correct? You don't really need to ask what their last name is either, because you physically have this information already. Now, you may want to ask it because obviously they could be using some fake Facebook account, and that's not actually really their name. If they're doing that, then I mean, if they're doing that, then you could use that information alone to gauge I mean, you must have heard about this whole concept of lead scoring and stuff like that. You could go in and use that information to assign to them a lower value of a lead score because they're using a completely fake account. And what type of people have fake Facebook accounts? Do you have a fake Facebook account? Do you have 2 Facebook accounts?
I have different Facebook accounts, but they're not fake names.
They're all your name. Do you know any of your friends who have some fake Facebook account with some random name that they use?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And what type of people are those?
Not good.
All right, is that the type of people that you really want to fill out your credit application? Probably not.
No.
So we can leave these in if you want, but from my perspective, we don't need this question. From my perspective, I mean, literally, you're stirring this in last name. I've already got their last name. So why do I need to ask that? And from my perspective, I don't really need to ask those redundant questions because I already I already know their last name. Now, if you really wanted to ask that, then what we could do is we could write some message that says, hey, are you filling out this application for full name? And then they can say yes or no. If they say no, then we can go in and say, okay, who are you filling this out for? What's their name, right? If they say yes, then we can just say, fuck it. Let's scratch those 2 questions and let's move on to our actual questions because we already have this data, right? But from my perspective, I don't think we even need to do that because I'm just going to assume that they are going to fill out this application just like this. Now, whenever you get this data, you're just going to take this data and you're going to outsource it to some email or some Google spreadsheet, right, to present it as some data for the dealership, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, just so you're aware, we won't probably have time to do it today, But you can check into Zapier. There's a couple really cool Zapier applications that allow you to take and create generic PDF documents, which you could go in and create the generic PDF document of their actual credit application that they're going to end up submitting to the bank. And then through Zapier, you can pre-populate and create a PDF of that document with these injected data. So essentially they could upload to those applications their actual credit application template and then define where the injectable custom data is going to be at, and then label those fields, and then you could zap this information to that application, and it would take all the data that you've passed and you would map it where it actually needs to go. All right, so that now whenever you're done, literally you could just present them, instead of presenting them a Google spreadsheet or an email where they have to go in and copy and paste the data and then put it into their own credit application, generate the PDF, email that shit out to the bank to do the credit check. They could literally just automatically just create the PDF and send them the PDF, so that it eliminates that process. And like I said, if you do stuff like that, they'll most likely go in and pay you double than what they're paying right now, because they'll be like, shit, you just saved me. I mean, shit, just making that credit app, that takes my dude, 7 minutes, right? And he's going to process 2 of those a week. That's 14 minutes a week. They're going to appreciate that time expenditure that you saved them. All right, so here we're going to go in and ask them for a birthday. So no problem there. We can ask them for a birthday because we don't technically have that piece of information yet. All right, so what we want to actually do here is we want to create what is going to be our template, all right, for every question that we're actually going to use. So now we're going to put in this, all right? Now, the only thing I'm not liking here, and I'm trying to figure out what the best solution is going to be here. Let's just actually come in here and let's grab, just for demo purposes, let's grab this and put this guy down here, and this, and let's just go in and do this and say, okay. So this guy won't let me do that right now. I really want to be, the thing that I really don't like about this user input is it's fine to have this user input, but whenever you have this many pieces of data, then, I mean, this is a lot of user inputs that you're collecting here. What do we do whenever our user decides that they're going to be a really stupid user, like 99% of them are, and they decide, instead of giving us the answer to this question, they're going to physically ask us a question, or they physically want to get out of this credit process and go do something else? Or we already know, please specify, there, I specified. So let's check this out real quick. Is there something else that you were wanting me to do? Yes, there was. So when is your birthday? So I don't see that you have any main menu set up here at all.
There was one. I think it might, because I was in there playing around with it, and I think it might have got taken out of there.
Okay, so no big deal. No huge there. Not a huge issue there. But at this point, what's going to happen if we continue with this flow right here? At this point, I'm almost certain, because I know users, because I've been building software for 11 years now, and users are pretty stupid. And I know that no matter, I mean, we could literally tattoo this on our face or write this in a crown, and they're not going to listen to us. You're going to say, when's your birthday? And they're going to say, why do you need my birthday? Right? And now we have no way to actually really handle that, because we're just, now their birthday, the answer to their birthday is going to be stuck in here. All right. So no big deal. We're going to manage that anyways. All right. So we'll manage that anyways. So what we need to do here is we need to grab this guy. And like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to create our little template here as far as what needs to actually happen here. Okay. So we're going to go in and I'm going to build every part of this template that we need. All right. And this is it right there. We just built this template that we need for every question. All right. So for every question, we're going to have this template right here. Now, like I said, I do apologize. I'm really anal about geometrics and symmetry and alignment of stuff. I'm like, even this curve and this thing right here, I don't really like it and it really bothers me. All right. But leave that aside. What we need for what we're literally going to do here is we are going to go into each and every one of these questions and we are going to isolate them to their own step process. So for that, what we need is right here, we need an action that will go in and change the value of what is the current step in this credit application process that our user is on. Right now, we know that he's on step 1. Here he's on step 0 where he hasn't even started the application process. He's just being presented with this information. All right. So now at this point he starts, we tag him that he has started credit application. So probably here what we want to do is say started. And if we could spell it properly, that would probably be cool. But I don't think there's any hope of spelling anything. There, my wife can help me spell. Thank you. So I think that's a better tag because then we could go in and now run some segmentation to say, hey, let's look at every single person that has finished our credit application versus saying, hey, let's look at every single person that has started our credit application but has not finished it, because that is that if I was scoring leads, I would say is a more valuable lead. The guys that started the credit application but didn't finish, I would say those guys are a little bit more valuable than the guys that never started the credit application, because at least these guys are somewhat serious. All right, so this is step 1 that we need to do. We need to increment and set what step this user is on. So we just did that, step 1. So we need to route him into actually step 1. So that means we need to take this guy and actually route him up here. All right. So now we did this. So now we need to automatically continue from this. And we want to route into this conditional check right here. Now this conditional check right here is going to be this right here. I'm not going to claim to be a genius or anything like that, but I really don't think this is good content for you to have whatsoever. I really don't think that you should ever associate with your brand something that is not secure and tell a user, hey, this isn't secure. Okay. I think that you could go in and say something different, like, you know, we need to manually finish your application or we need to manually review your application. Somebody will be in contact with you. But I think that this right here, if you say this is not a secure site, I think that this would going to be something that would be a big turnoff for your users. And they're going to be like, this is not a secure site. And I've literally just given you, how many fucking pieces of data did I just give you about myself? And you're telling me that the site's not secure? I don't really know what I think about that. Okay. But regardless, what we're going to do is we're going to have, I didn't actually want that. So, So I'm going to say, what do you want to do? Do you want to modify your application or do you want to submit your application? All right. So if I want to submit this application, I'm going to create a placeholder here called submit application. If I want to modify this application, what I'm going to actually do is create another placeholder. And this guy is going to have some other custom field. called modifying credit application. And this is going to be a true or false. So this is for this is that field. All right. That field will actually go in and allow them to modify any, it allows us to keep track of whether or not they're modifying any answer on their application. All right. So we're just going to set that to true. We're setting that to true. Why? Because they've literally told us, hey, I want to go in and modify this application. All right. So since they've done that, we've set this variable to true, that they are modifying this application. Why? Because what we're going to do in here is we're going to check a condition, and we're going to check that condition right here. We're going to check if this is true. If this is true, all right, and what we're going to do, all right. Now, just a little disclaimer here. The only reason that we're going to do this is because I am a very anal person and I don't like lines to cross, et cetera, et cetera. So if I say, because what do I need to do? If I know that they're modifying this credit application, right? They've told me, hey, I want to go in and modify something. And I say, okay, what I'm literally going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let me change this variable and say, hey, you're going back and you're modifying something on your credit application. I'm going to ask you, what do you want to modify, right? So I can go in and now have some data that will go in and represent each one of these steps and say, I want to go back and modify my birthday, or I want to go back and modify whatever your next question is, which is, what is your home number and street name, okay? So I'm going to go in and actually modify that. I don't think I would really ask them a city or a state. Again, I think I would just ask the zip code, because city and state become really redundant pieces of information because it's inferred data if I have a zip code. If I have your zip code, I automatically know your city and state. Agreed?
Right.
So from my perspective, I don't really need to ask them that, because I could just have their zip code and then I can infer and say, hey, this dude's in this zip code. And I would say all your car dealers, they're going to know local zip codes, and they're going to know, hey, you know, where is this guy at based on that zip code. We can still ask it if you want to. But like I said, I still think it's a little bit redundant, because we can go in, and if I know your zip code, then I can go in myself and I can infer where that's coming from. All right.
Yeah, no, however we can make the process quicker, I guess you can say, so if they're less likely to step out, if that makes sense.
Okay. So now, leaving that, we want to allow this person to go back, modify the answer. So we're going to tag them that they are modifying the answer. Well, we're not going to tag them. We could tag them essentially if we wanted to, but right now we're just going to go in and turn this on to true, that yes, they're modifying their credit application. So now we'll have some step here. All right. We'll have some step here that will basically go in and collect. This will go in and ask them which one of these steps do they want to go back, which one of these questions do they want to go back and edit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to then route them all the way back to the beginning, which is going to be our conditional engine. This conditional engine is what's going to check to see, hey, what is the current step that you're on? Let me route you just right to that current step. Now, so you've made it through, right? You've done all the steps, and then you got here and you're like, look, I want to change an answer. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll let you change an answer. What answer do you want to change? And you're like, okay, I want to change question 1. So I'm like, okay, you're going to be changing question 1. So I store that information, and then I route you right back to the beginning. Now in this conditional block, I'm going to see what step are you on. I can see that you're on step 1 because over here, I'm literally going to set that I'm going to have another action. I'm going to set you to step 1. So I'm going to route you right here into step 1. All right. So now you're going to change this answer, right? So now that gets us to this condition here. Once you change this answer, what do I want to do if you're modifying your credit application? If this is true, I do not want to route you. So this is true right here, right? Yes. I do not want to route you to this next step. I want to route you right back here to the end of your application because you've already filled everything out. And all you wanted to do was come right back here and change this, correct? So because of that, I'm going to use an inverse logic, okay? Because of that, I'm going to say if this isn't true. And like I said, the only reason that I'm saying is this false, if this is false, if that's true, that this is false, that means you're not modifying your credit application. That means here, I can route you to this next step. And if this is false, I can route you over here. Now you see how my lines don't cross, so I don't get confused at all. That's the only reason that we're doing that inverse logic. Typically, I would not want you to change that inverse logic because it begins to get a little bit complicated to understand if modifying credit application is false equals true, right? If false equals no, then essentially it means that this is true. So your logic, unless you have a good grasp of logic, you're going to confuse yourself and be like, what the fuck is this condition actually saying? All right. So, but like I said, I'm anal and I don't like to see lines cross, and I'm good at logic. So I'm going to have it like that so that my lines don't cross. All right. So this is everything essentially that I need, all right, to create a new step. For every step, I need this thing right here. And then I need one of these guys right here. All right. So what is this guy going to do? This guy is going to go in and check. This guy is unknown, or this guy is exactly 0. If this is true, then you need to go right there. If this is false, you need to go to my next conditional engine. This conditional engine is essentially going to be this conditional engine, just slightly modified. I'm going to come in and I'm going to move this guy, and I'm going to come in and say is exactly 1. All right. So now I know you're on step 1. So if this is false, then so if your credit application current step is unknown or is exactly 0, that means that you're on the 0 step, which is I just need to present you data about what this flow is about. You're going to submit a credit application. If this is false, then I need to continue to check and try to figure out what step that you're on. So I'm going to route you into the next block of my decision engine. All right. So now I'm going to say, okay, hey, is this guy's current step unknown or is this guy's current step 0? So if either one of those are true, then I know that you belong right here, right? Because you haven't even started this application yet. So you belong right here so that you can decide what to do. If this is false, then I don't know what you need to do. So I need to continue to check. I'm going to check and see, okay, are you on exactly step 1? If you're on step 1, well, guess what? I'm just going to route you right in here to step 1. If you're not on step 1, well, guess what? I need to copy this guy, and I need to create another block in my conditional engine. So if that's not true, I need to keep checking other conditions, right? So I'm going to keep routing you down. You see, we're creating this top-down sequential program. This is going to happen, and if this condition is not met, then we're going to route you over here. Or if this condition is true, evaluates to true, we'll route you over there. If it's not true, then we're going to go into our else if. So essentially, if we were writing a program, if we were actually writing this as a computer program, essentially what we would have right now is an if, else, if, else, if, else. This if would be this first if. This else if would be this guy. This next else would be this guy. And this else would finally be this no clause right here. All right. So that's essentially what we would have made if we were actually doing a program. So now we're going to look and see, is this exactly 2? If this is exactly 2, then I'm going to route this user to exactly my second step. So here I don't want to delete that, just kidding. So here I should be setting this to exactly 2. All right. And then here, this is just always going to be the same. All right. Here, this guy is always going to be exactly the same what he's doing. If no, he's always going to route to the final step in my process, to my confirmation step. If yes, then he's always going to route to my next step. Because if yes, that means this guy is not modifying his credit application. So if this guy is not modifying his credit application, so modifying credit application is false, all right, then I want to route him to the next step in my process. So you follow everything so far?
Got it.
Looks really different than what you had so far.
Right.
It's going to be much more user-friendly for the actual end user, which is who we really care about, right?
Exactly.
So now, all this other shit here, we're going to worry about all this other shit here later. It's not necessary for us to really worry about it right now. So we're going to worry about that shit later. And we're just going to drag it out of sight, out of mind. And we're going to come over here. And then basically we're going to grab this guy right here. And we're going to create us a new question there. This is our next question. And I guess what we better do is we better just come in here and figure out, we already asked that birthday question, right? So we already asked that birthday question. We need to put him in birthday. All right, so now we have that first question there. So we can get rid of that guy. So now we can ask, what is your home number and street address? So I think if we assume, I think, no offense to some of the people, but I think if we could just make the assumption that this guy is just a fucking good old hardcore American, that we don't even need to ask him that. We can just ask him what is his street address, right? Because if I ask him what is his street address, most likely he's going to infer that he needs to give 2789 North Newman Road, because that's what a street address is. So can we make that assumption, or do we need that other content? What do you say?
Right.
Is this fine?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your street address? All right. So let's go in and ask him that right here. And let's go in and put that home address and street name. So we may want to actually think about later on renaming that. So there's that. So this guy's done. So you want to get rid of this city and state and just collect a zip code?
Yeah.
Great, me too. Because I really hate redundant data. So let's take this guy. We're going to put him in there. And I'm going to assume zip code is where you're putting that guy at. So we're going to put him there in zip code. All right, we're going to make sure that we edit this as we go on to step 3. And now we can continue. This guy has been done. All right, so he's completely done. So we're just going to continue on a pretty little flow. We're going to grab this guy again. Now, remember, all our nodes are always going to route to this end step right here. That's where all our nodes are always going to route. So we're not going to worry about those, and we're just going to do our yeses. All right? If that's a yes, he needs to go there. If that's a yes, he needs to go there. This should be a 4 because that is the step that he is on, right? And the whole reason that we call this 0 is just how indexing works, all right? This is not a step, but this is step 1, right? So now we can clearly see this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. Now our indexing is actually on par. This is step 4. So now we can easily see, hey, what step is he on, all right? So now at this step, I need to ask him, how long have you been at that address? Now, We can debate on whether or not you should be asking him questions like this and allowing him free keyboard input, or whether you should be asking him generic questions like more than 7 years, less than 2 years. All right, so that we could debate. How could you answer that debate? You could just ask your client as far as what types of data would they rather have the user giving. Would they rather have them giving generic data like this, or would they rather allow for free keyboard input? Now, if you allow for this keyboard input, that whole thing that we talked about where you could take this data and extract this data right from these users and inject it right into your custom PDF that is your credit application, that's going to go to shit real fast. Because trust me, if I allow this guy to put in free keyboard input and I don't dictate what his options are, he's going to give me some really crappy data. He's going to give me some data that doesn't make sense whatsoever, or he's going to go in and ask me a question like, which address are you talking about? The one that I just gave you that makes the most logical sense. Now, what's going to be put inside your credit application? That really stupid question that he just asked because he's a stupid user. So since we have stupid users, we really are our best option for stupid users is, 7+ years, 6+ years. These are a better option for us, for those stupid users, because now we don't give them a chance to reconform to us that they're stupid users, right? We're just like, hey, we already know you're stupid and you're going to give us some stupid data. So I'm not going to give you the option to give me that stupid data. I'm just going to force you to give you one of the pieces of data that I'm actually expecting. All right. But let's not get into that. And let's just allow our user to give us some really stupid data, because then after 2 or 3 weeks, you can come back and tell me, you know what, John, these users you're right. They're really stupid and they're putting some dumbass shit inside these answers that make no sense at all. How can we fix that? All right. So how long have you been at this address? Time at address. So there's that. All right. So that guy's done. Okay, here, so you got what is your phone number, and you're just taking some free keyboard input and you're putting that in phone number. So pretty straightforward there. So we can do our same process here. We're gonna grab this guy, copy and paste him, put him right here. Update this to be step 5. Grab this guy that says, what is your phone number? And we're just route him in this question. What is your phone number? We're gonna change this to a phone type. We don't want any skip button. And we want to have some phone number. Great. That guy's done. So now we want to go and move this guy right down our path. And we want to go in and verify that's all there. Yep. So we want to remove that. We want to remove that. This would be a really good example here where I would say we get rid of this. Oh, do you rent, own, or bind? So I'm not really sure, but I would say this is this is a very bad representation of what we're actually asking here. So we're not actually asking him if what his rent or mortgage per month is, right? We're not asking him a per month numeric value. We're asking him whether he rents, whether he owns, or whether he's buying, right?
That's actually for a different question, I believe.
Okay, well, it looks like it's for that question. So does that one. Oh, nope, that one's not there. Okay, so regardless, let's go in, and here what I would do is I would not allow this to be a free text. I would make this a multiple choice, and I would just say rent, own, buying. The only thing is since I love users and I don't really accredit much intelligence to them, I would think that we may want to go in and explain to them the difference between buying and owning, because they may be confused there and be like, what are you talking about? Do I own it or am I buying it? But let's just assume.
Well, let's just take out the buying then.
Okay. So that makes it easier. So let's go in and create a new custom field called rent or buying. All right. So now there's that. So let's just verify everything. This is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. All right, so now we got up to step 6. We need to create this guy and copy him. And then we actually need to come in here, take all these guys, move them down some. This is how ridiculously large this flow is. That has to be way over there. All right, so now we know that this is step 6, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we know that we've asked him, is he renting or buying? So we've asked him this already. What is your job title? Here, I think we could also just go ahead and give a few pieces of data instead of asking him for free keyboard input, but we'll just allow him to give that free keyboard input for now.
For that one, what kind of data would you put in there?
I would just put something like business owner, business manager, salaried employee, hourly employee is what I would put. I mean, because then that gives me a pretty good demographics of what are you trying to ask with this question when you're qualifying this lead? You're trying to figure out how stable is his paycheck and how much more or less he could make, right? Well, you could get a good assumption from that by knowing, is this guy an hourly? Is this guy somebody who gets an hourly paycheck? Is he a salaried employee? Is he some type of manager that has a management title, or is he a business owner? You've essentially does it make a hell of a beans difference to your car dealership whether this dude works at McDonald's as a fry cook or whether he works at McDonald's as a cashier? No,
Right.
not really. It does make a difference whether he's an hourly worker at McDonald's, a salary worker at McDonald's, the manager at McDonald's, or the business owner at McDonald's. That's the data that they're trying to get from here. They're trying to get some type of understanding of what could be his budget range and how serious he could be about actually making this transaction. They don't really give two shits what he does for a job, right? That's not the information that they're trying to extract. But all regards, we'll just go in and we'll just get that piece of information from them anyways. I would assume that your car dealership should have queried from your car dealership and asked them specifically what questions that they asked on their credit application. And I would assume that they would have just provided you a list of questions that they say, these are what we ask all the time.
Yeah, these are actually it.
Okay. So if that's it, that's fine, because this is what they're actually saying is their questions. So it's most of the time it's a sure bet if we just go with what the client tells us that they want. But our service that we provide will be perceived as much more valuable if not only do we take whatever they provide, But if we analyze what they provide and what they're trying to do and go in and decipher that and say, well, this is what you're doing and what you're saying that you do. Are you sure this is what you really want to do? Because here's what I think you're doing. Here's a couple of the actual options that we have that I think will be a little bit better. If you want to essentially do exactly what you're doing, if you essentially want to ask this question, then we'll just ask this question, no problem. But I think this is the data that you're looking for. So I think it would be easier and much more user-friendly for, trust me, anytime you can have those quick buttons, that is much more user-friendly because the user, if you look at your bot on a mobile device, if you look at your bot on a mobile device, then you will see that this is not very user-friendly on a mobile device, and I'll show you that later. Because if you have a menu, all right, on your bot, if you actually have a menu, then a user, what they have to do is they have to scroll up every time on your bot, and they actually have to click some button that they want to send you a message. All right. And it's not the easiest way because they've got to click that button, put their focus in that cursor, and then they actually have to write out that text as opposed to just clicking a button. That's much more easier and much more faster to them. But anyways, like I said, screw that. Let's just move on. Make sure all this is right so far. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then here we've asked them for job title. We're getting job title. So it seems like to me, what we need now is another one of those guys to come right in here. Now I've asked them for their job title right here. So we can go ahead and check that off. This is really honestly one of the benefits of having a shit ton of money is that you don't have to fucking fill out credit applications. You can just go and give them some money and be like, look, I'm just gonna buy this. I don't want to fill out any documentation, so here's the money. Now leave me alone because this is a lot of stuff to go in and fill out. So this is who is your employer. All right. So pretty sure we can just come in here and put in that's employer. So who is your employer? And this should be step 8, right? Pretty sure if this is step 7, then that should be step 8. All right, so that's step 8. So let's move this over here. Who's your employer? Done. Let's just do this. 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is 8, right? 8. Here's 9, 9, 10, 11. Okay. 8, 9, 10, 11. Who's your employer? Who's your employer? Who's your employer? Who's your employer? So don't care about your employer anymore. I want your employer's phone number. And we're going to put that in employer's number. So who's your employer? Get your employer's number. Put that in there. All right. Then go in and get how long have you been employed at this job? Another time where I think you should also go in and give them, less than 1 year, less than 2 years, less than 3 years, more than 7 years, instead of just allowing them free range on the keyboard, because 1, it's going to take longer for them to fill out this application, and 2, you are guaranteed if you have this just like this, you're guaranteed if 10 people submit this application, I'll guarantee you 3 of these people will put some really stupid, nonsensical information that does not actually belong here whatsoever. And then it's just going to mess up your process because it's going to be really useless information. So in all regards, we're going to put that in right there. And we're going to look and see you don't have any custom field there. So we'll just create a custom field. How long have you been here? Time on job. And then we'll just put that guy in there. All right. So that's that guy. And then we have this last one. What are your weekly wages? Now this again is something that I would use quick replies for to get, it doesn't really matter if this guy has a $571 paycheck or a $573 paycheck. What matters is if he makes, you know, more than $500 a week, more than $600 a week, more than $700 a week, more than $1,000 a week. Those are the things that actually matter, right? And not the specific amount really for this credit application. So because all that the bank's going to verify anyways whenever they talk to the employer themselves, they're going to verify what their salary are, what they actually make. And so anyways, let's just leave it and get the free text, which is bound to screw us up in the long run, because we are dealing with users. And Clue and Rensler, they were really adamant and Tron about destroying the users because they felt that the users are really, really subpar according to programs, because essentially they are. So now we have this guy right here, this not secure site that we've just basically, we're going to copy and paste him. We're going to copy and paste this not secure site into an arbitrary message here that I don't really think that we're actually going to use. So if it was me and this was for my client, I would not use that. And if my client told me to put that in there, I would say, you're stupid. Let's not put this in there. Let's rewrite this. And if they were to be like, no, John, we're going to put that piece of content in there, then I would just come back like at least 3 times. I would object and say, no, you're really stupid. Let's not put this in there. And then if they were like, no, let's put it in there, like I said, I would repeat that probably 3 times and be like, this is not a piece of content we really want in here. Trust me. Now, after 3 times, if they're going to keep telling me, yes, we want this in there, I'd just be fine. All right, fine, be stupid. We'll have a stupid bot. We'll put that stupid piece of content in there. But just so you know, I'm going to tell you that this is a stupid piece of content and you should just be prepared for users to abandon ship here, because because I don't want to deal with this. So now essentially I've got your whole flow done, right? We're up to point 11 here. What are your weekly wages? So that's all going in there. All right. So I'm pretty sure that everything's good here. So now essentially what I need to do is just come back here, connect my dots here. Now, technically on this last step, I don't need this conditional block on this last step, because this last step, both conditions would route to my next step anyways. So since both of these endpoints here are going to route to the exact same step, there's just no reason whatsoever for me to have a conditional check there. All right. So now I've got that. So now I need to continue on this process and come in here. If this is exactly 3, if this is exactly 4, if this is exactly 5, if this is exactly 6. And this is a copy and paste shit that we really don't like to do, which is why what we really like to do is learn concepts and go in and build out a concept and then tell some cheaper, low-level resource that is really capable of copy and pasting shit and doesn't cost a lot of money to have them copy and paste shit, to go in and do all the copy and pasting for us, because our time's a lot better spent doing non-copy and paste shit. But for this instance, we're going to do all this copy and paste stuff. All right. And that's all the copy and pasting that I actually need to do. Okay. So now first, before I go anywhere, I know that all these no's are going to route to each other, except for my last no. They're just going to follow a sequential programming design and go one right after the other. I know that my yeses are going to be my go-to statements where I go in and actually, where, are you saying I'm still muted? Oh, I was going to say, I don't think I'm muted. I'm hoping I'm not muted. So anyways, let's go in and look here. This is exactly 3, all right? So now I just want to go in and know that this guy's 3. So he is going to route right here to 3, right? This guy is 4, so he's going to route to 4. This guy is 5, so he's going to route to 5. This guy is 6, so he's going to route to 6. This guy is 7, so he's going to route to 7. This guy's 8, so he's going to route to 8. This guy is 9, so he's going to route to 9. And this little piggy's 10, so he's going to route to 10. And this little piggy is 11, so he's going to route to 11. Great. All right. So, there we go. Did it. I did it. So you can remove that from my screen. All right. So now all these guys are routed, right? As far as these guys. Now we've got this last guy here. All right. Now at this last guy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this really stupid piece of content that I didn't like. And this last guy, I'm going to route this last guy in right there. Why? Because it is never expected. We never expect this condition to happen right here. All right. I never expect that that's going to happen because I expect if a user is on step 11, that he's going to be routed right in here to step 11. All right. And I'm actually going to add one more step called 12, which is the finishing step. And then we'll go in and edit things accordingly to make sure in our user input, we know that that is the finishing step. All right. So now we can go in here and I can come down here. Yeah, please. I love coffee. So coffee would be great. Thanks, Tapos. Or tea. Tea is fine. Coffee's fine. Tea and coffee both also fine. So now what was this? This was something about automatically continue. Oh, this was if this guy is actually going to, if this guy is going to come in here. All right. And this was, this guy wants to submit his application. So if he wants to submit his application, bam, we're going to add this action right here, which is going to say, what is this action going to say? Going to say something similar to that. And it's going to be add a tag. And it's going to be finished credit application because now that credit application is finished. And now that he's finished that credit application, then I'm going to go in and say something similar to this data.
What's going on, guys?
I think we're just going to do that. We're going to say, thank you for submitting your credit application, John. We will have someone from our staff contact you at phone number within the next hour to finish your application. All right. So now that's going to be there. Okay. So now what we needed to do, this guy comes over here. And before we do this, let's just have an action group. All right. And let's just go ahead and delete that action group and grab this action group right here and use that action group since we already have one there. And then just call this step 12. And then let's just come over here and come over here and so now that just lets us know that step 0 is the beginning. Step 12 is when they actually have this finished. All right. So now we got that. So now we just need to get rid of these red lines right here. And then now we need to come in here and we'll route that guy right in there. Now that he's finished his application and actually probably yeah, that's good. He hasn't finished it. He hasn't finished it, so that's fine. So now what we want to do is we just want to grab all these reds and bring our reds in here. And there will be a replay of this, by the way, but it will only be available to action takers. And if you're not an action taker, then to be quite honest, I don't really care if you get the replay of this or not. If you are an action taker, then I really love you for taking action. So I'll make sure that you get the replay to this because as you can see, we turned whatever that thing is that you had at the beginning, we turned that into this thing right here, which is very similar to an extent, but it's also very different. All right. So here, I think what we want to do is go in and do something like this. When is your birthday? Birthday. When is your birthday? Birthday. Another little text guy. What is your street address? What is your street address? Something about home and street address. Put that into that. So I think what we'll do is we'll just add in here step 1 or step 2. Step 1. Seriously, come on, man, chat. So something like that. I think this is going to be our best option. Really wish mini chat. There we go. What is your zip code? Something about zip code. Something about correct grammar. Something about this, something about this, something about this. What would you like to do? I like to do that. Something about step 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. What would you like to do? What would you like to do? Anything that we have left, this guy right here. 1. Publish that guy. You cannot use more than 10 message blocks in a row. Seriously? I cannot use more than 10 message blocks in a row. Okay. So all that means is that I need to create this guy right here, and I need to create this guy right here. What would you like to do? I would like to do some stuff. I would like to modify my application. Okay. I would also like to submit my application. I like to spell application correctly. There we go. So now if I want to submit my application, that will go down there. If I want to modify my application, that will go right there. Hey, I said go right there. Now if I want to submit my application over here, I won't be able to because I'm deleting that. If I want to submit this application, I won't be able to because I'm deleting that. Also going to delete that guy. Also going to try to publish this guy. I cannot have 10 message blocks in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yay! So now I want to continue automatically. From here to there. I want to come down here. And I want to add 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. So now if I said I wanted to submit my application, I'll go in and tag this guy that he's finished his application, and I will send him that message where he can exit the funnel. If he wants to modify the application, then I'm literally going to take him over here, and I'm just going to have my lines crossed for a little bit and come right over here, where I'm going to tag him that he's modifying this guy, and I can see now that he easily loops back right over there, and now everything is good. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you guys to ask any questions that you could possibly have. I'm going to unmute you guys, and I'm going to let you ask any questions that you have whatsoever, and I'm going to smoke this cigarette and drink this tea before it gets cold, and then we'll finish.
So, John, if you were doing, instead of the user input, you were doing the quick reply, how would you go about putting that in?
I would just go in and make a, I would just go in and make a multiple choice question, just like I did right here. So right here, I made a multiple choice question, and whenever a user can only do, okay? So let's come in here and grab this guy, our starting step, and let's take him over here and drop him right on that. Excuse me. Come back here. Okay. So let's put him right on there. This is what a user will do when you ask them that question. So now you see how we can just force him to not give us that stupid data that we don't want. We don't want to know that you live in a box, buddy. We want to know, do you own that box, or are you currently renting that box? And he's not telling us that. So we're just going to force him to give us the data that we want, because we can't rely on him to actually give us the data that we want. So we'll just force him to do that by using those quick replies, just like that.
So, but when you go into what you were just into, where you were putting in the user input, for when it shows them all of their answers, for when you do those, what would you put in that part?
I would put exactly what I have there already. So this is 6, and this is called rent or buying. So I would just take this guy. And I would come down here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. Oh, not that, sorry. That. I would put in just like that. Whatever data. I mean, you're just taking this data and you're storing it inside this variable right here. So if they click on rent, you're going to save the reply. You're going to save this data as rent. If they click on own, you're going to save this data as own. So pretty straightforward like that.
Okay, so and then it works the same way as any of the other ones.
Yeah, it works. It works exactly like those other ones. So it works exactly like those other ones, where the only difference is we're going to take here, we're going to take the free keyboard input. We're going to take whatever they type in the free keyboard input, and we're going to stick it inside this custom little box. We're just going to call this box job title. What are we going to stick in this job title box? Well, whatever they type in with their keyboard. The only difference is over here, we're going to not let them type anything with their keyboard. We're going to say, hey, you have to give this guy, or you have to give this guy. You can give one of these two answers. That's it. You can't give any keyboard answer. If you give any keyboard answer, I'm just going to give you this message until you pick one of these two options. Now, by default, when you pick this option, whatever data that you put here, I'm going to automatically store this data into this rent or buying box. Now, if I want to, I can make this say one thing, and I can store this as a different value. I can save this. So whenever a user clicks this, you would literally store a 1 in this rent or buying box. But I don't want to store a 1 there. I want to store a rent there. Just like that. So essentially, I could just have this guy turned off, and I could have this guy turned off, essentially, if I wanted to. So now what I can do is I can just preview this. And I can say I own that. And I can come right back here and I can grab this guy right here and come down here and say, see, there's my answer right there. Makes sense?
Yep.
So does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask while I'm drinking my tea? Anything about this process that hasn't been clear to you, that you haven't understood so far, that you would like me to give you some clarification on? Or would you rather me just build all your bots for you so that you don't have to understand any of this stuff? Kind of feel like I'm a stand-up comedian at a really bad bar with really bad jokes right now. So I'll just be quiet and drink my tea then. You could, yes, but you'll have to generate that PDF and then you'll have to send it over to some document like DocuSign and send them a link to have them go in and actually sign it. You asked, can you do an e-signature with PDFs? So just for the people watching the replay that don't understand what the hell I'm talking about, Phil asked if we could do an e-signature with PDFs. And you could. We could figure out how to do that on Zapier because I saw some electronic signature applications. All right. So essentially now I'm kind of stuck here doing some more copy and paste work, which is awesome. I really love copy and paste work. This is step 4, time at address. Your answer is time at the right address. Great. Here's step 5. What is your phone number? That was put in phone number. So here's step 5. Your answer is phone number. Yeah, we did step 6 already. So here's step 7. What is your job title? This is going in job title. That's job time. We want job title. So now this should be step 8. Who is your employer? And this is employer. What is your employer's phone number? Your answer is employer's number. Step 9. 10. time on job, time on job, step 11, how much money do you make? Is going in wages. Your answer is wages. Great. This guy no longer needed. Great. This guy is no longer that. This is going to be a number. This is going to disappear. Here we are going to put this in current application, credit application, current step, because we're going to get their current step from here, and then we are going to route them back here to the beginning to this logics block and go in and check and see and route them to the actual current step. All right. So first, we're going to preview that so that I can get my step reset right there. Now I am going to preview this right here. First, I'm going to come over here and I am going to delete this conversation. Now that I have deleted that conversation and I have this beautiful flow built, I am going to preview this thing. Okay, so now I can see that my data here is too big. So I am going to come in here to this guy. I am going to add a new text there, and I'm going to add a new delay right there. And I'm going to come up here and take this data right there, and I'm going to put it in there, increase this to probably 5 seconds, increase this to probably 5 seconds, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to delete this conversation. I'm going to grab that guy and take him right there so that I can come back here and do that. Now I can see everything fits on one page by clicking submit, a bunch of stuff I should have read, blah, blah, blah. I agree to the terms and conditions, and I acknowledge I may be contacted by Great Lakes Auto Superstore. I understand that I might not pre-qualify depending on the pre-qualification criteria. Do you accept the terms of this agreement and want to proceed with the credit application? No, I don't. Screw off. Are you sure? It only takes 3 minutes. Pretty sure that you are lying to me. But what happens if I say, take me back? Then so I don't think that I'm going to do this any longer. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to come in here and route him right there and delete that redundant step and say, okay, I'll do it. Nope. How about no thanks again? Now I can come in here and have those different options. Great. How about I go in and I say no again. I don't want to do this. Oh shit, it only takes 3 minutes. Okay, I'll do it. So now I can go in and give my birthday. Now this is the issue that I was talking about. Nothing's stopping our user from doing that. So now what we need to do is this and this. Come here. Come here. And we're gonna do this. And we're gonna actually do that. What's up, buddy? Huh? Is the pre-authorization done? I mean, whenever a user goes in and they decide that they want to pay that group invoice, they need to first be pre-authorized. They don't need to be charged, they need to be pre-authorized. So card details right. It's not about them putting their card details right there. It's about them getting pre-authorized, where you need to actually, through Stripe, you need to make a pre-authorization. If you don't know how to do that, just ask Jody, because he knows how to do it, because they did it for you, Rang. So you need to do a pre-authorization, because when that dude's agreeing to pay that higher priced invoice before the group discount, you need to make sure that he actually has the money in his account, because if not, then you could have a bunch of asshole people who don't actually even have the money to pay for that invoice that they're agreeing to pay, in hopes of, if enough people pay it, they'll get a percentage discount if that group goes in and actually you fulfill that group. You need to actually pre-authorize him to make sure that he indeed has the funds in his account to pay for the higher priced invoice, considering that the group you didn't get your 100 users to go in and actually pay that invoice. So you actually have to do the pre-authorization. Makes sense. Yep, I'll test. I won't test until you actually get everything actually finalized and finished. See you tomorrow, buddy. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making a little logics block here for testing purposes. All right, for totally not talking to you, buddy. Totally talking to these guys over here, not talking to you, man. Fuck out of here. So I'm making a testing block right here so that I need to, what happened right here was that I have set that I wanted to go in and change my answer. And since I want to change my answer, and actually I'm not changed, that I wanted to, I'm not changed. So I actually really need to go in and, I actually really need to go in and just leave that guy right there. And I need to rewrite this logic, because this logic is saying if this guy is false, but I need to actually do this. If any of these conditions match, that it is modifying credit application is also unknown. So I actually need to edit all of them to have that condition as well. And they don't currently have that condition, because if this is unknown, it's not going to evaluate to true if this is false unless I add that in. So anyways, now I've actually added that in. So let's go in and delete that guy. And then later when we're done, we can remove that conditional block. We can remove this thing right here that we created, or we can leave that there because this is if we want to test it. This is if we want, we'll start right here if we want this to be in production. If we want to go in and start doing testing, we'll go in and change this up right here so that it basically reinitializes us like it's the first time that we've ever done this. So now we're just going to go ahead and say, yes, we want to start this instead of going to the no route. When is my birthday? It's 6/26/1986. I'm going to be a good user and give you the data that you want. What is my street address? 123 Happy Rainbow Street. My zip code is 12345. How long have I been at that current address? 2 years, 3 months, 4 days, 7 minutes, and 10 seconds. Where's my phone number? 812-666-0666. Do I own rent? Do you own, rent, or are you buying? So I'm just going to change that to do you rent or own. I own my cardboard box. What is your job title? No shit. I'm a CEO and CTO of 2 different companies at the exact same time. Who is my employer? Well, I work for Tier 5 LLC. I work for Tier 5 Technology Solutions Private Limited. And I work for Miramax. What is your employer's phone number? 1-800-F off now. How long have you been employed at this current job? 3.5 years and some milliseconds. What are your weekly wages? Well, I make about $4K per week. Please review your credit application. I should probably go in and add some. Delays there. But there's step 1. When is your birthday? 6/26. Step 2. Step 3. Step 4. Step 5. Step 6. Step 7. Step 8. Step 9. Step 10. Step 11. I think I'll modify my application. And I think I want to change step 3. So, is that step 3? Looks like step 3. What is your zip code? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's good. 12134. So now I should go to the end to review my application again. My zip code, as I can see, has been updated there. And I think I need to go in and edit step 8. Here's my employer. Now, I will show you one thing that if we want to build a good bot, then we would do the same thing in computer programming. If we want to build a good program, we're going to go in and do some validation. All right. So here I'm going to go in and I'm going to modify my application. and I'm an asshole user, so I'm going to modify step 14 and it doesn't exist. Now I'm going to get to that really stupid message that I said we should never get to. That stupid message. There's that stupid message that we should have never got to. So to prevent me or my user from getting to that message, what we're going to actually do is we are going to chop into here. And we are going to grab this guy right here. Hey, grab this guy right here. And we're going to automatically continue him to a condition. All right. Now, our condition is going to be if credit application current step is greater than 0. Okay. If it's greater than 0 and credit application current step is less than 12. All right. So that means he can edit steps 1 to 11. All right. So now if this is true, if this isn't true, all right, if this isn't true, then we can say you're an asshole. This isn't a valid step. Please give a valid step. Valid steps are steps 1 through step 11. So let's remove you're an asshole because that's not very nice. And then let's loop him back right back into there to get that step from him again. Now, if this condition was true, then now I can drop him right back into my logical engine. All right. So now let's preview this again. Yes, I would like to go ahead and start this application. When is my birthday? 6/26/1986. What is my street address? It's going to be 123 Sun Road. What is my zip code? 12345. How long have you been at your address? 2+ years. What is your phone number? 666-666-6666. Do you rent or own? I rent. What is your job title? I am a babysitter. Who is your employer? My mom. What is your employer's phone number? 666-666-6669. How long have you been employed at this job? 13 fucking years. My stupid younger brother. I really hate him. What are your weekly wages? Well, my mom gives me $50. Now I want to modify my application. I'm going to tell you step 14. That is not a valid step. Okay, how about step 25? Also not a valid step. How about step 0? Shit, that was 0.0. Okay, how about 0? Just a normal 0. Come on, bot. So this latency, by the way, guys, these types of latencies and these types of delays that you see, this is the whole reason that you want to pitch your client a custom bot. Now, I know it seems like I'm just doing the same shit over and over again, but essentially I really want to test the case 0 and I want to test the case 12 because my allowed values are between 1 to 11, and I want to make sure that only those values are actually allowed. So I want to test my lower and upper bound as my use cases. So now there's that. So I'm going to go back in and I'll change step 7. I should be routed into step 7, whatever step 7 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is my job title? And my job title is Bot Ninja. And now I should get routed into review my application, where I can review my answers if my bot will actually respond. If my bot is being latent like this and being slow like this, this is where I want to really take the opportunity to explain to my client that we do not want their bot built on ManyChat. On ManyChat, what we want to do is just prototype their bot, scaffold their bot out as stage 1 of our build. Now we can use that to some degree for our users to get some user input to see, if this thing is something that my users are adapting to and they're actually using, and we can do a little study on that and kind of check those datas for a little bit. But essentially what we really want to do is move into step 2 and build a custom bot, because in that custom bot, I'm not going to have these really stupid delays that I have with ManyChat. I can't get around them with ManyChat, but with the custom bot, I can, because I can build my bot on a stateless application, which means it's infinitely scalable, and I don't have to worry about these stupid delays. So now I'm done. I think all my questions look great. So I'll just submit my application, and then I'll get some information. Now I could have went in here, and if I would have done something like this and like this, and instead of this being text, if I would have made this a number, then I could have done some lead scoring here, and I could have looked and set a threshold and say, you know what, for us to qualify you, I know that, for example, if you haven't been at your current address for more than a year, the bank's not going to qualify you. If you don't make more than $500 a week, the bank isn't going to qualify you. So you're most likely not going to get qualified. So I could go in here and add some conditional logic to go in and tell that user and be like, you know what? From looking at these pieces of information, you haven't lived at your house long enough, you don't make enough weekly income, it's going to be hard for me to pre-qualify you. So let me ask you some more pre-qualification segmentation questions. Let me ask you about a possible trade-in. Let me ask you about a possible down payment budget that you have, because I know if I'm going to try to pre-qualify you for a $10,000 loan on your vehicle and you're making less than $500 a week, the bank is going to require me to have at least a 50% down payment. Now, how do I know that? Because I'm a fucking sales guy and I've been selling cars for the last 18 years. That's why I have a car dealership. And if I just go in and sit down with the business owner and have a little bit of conversations like that, the business owner is going to be able to tell me these things that he knows. And this will greatly save him time, because the sales guys know automatically when they're looking at these credit applications, I'm going to collect all this shit, but I'm going to look at 3 pieces of data. And based on these 3 pieces of data, I'll instantly know what bank I should push this credit app out to, because I know what bank typically will approve this type of general information. So now I could go in and further segment this person and and even tag this with a particular bank, so that now this guy instantly knows, hey, I don't even really need to look at this credit credit app. I just need to take this credit app, and I know that this credit app is going to end up going to this bank, or I instantly know, hey, this guy's not going to get qualified because he's telling me he has no down payment, or he has less than a 50% down payment, because I know he wants a 10K loan, and I know he only has a 1K down payment, but I also know he's making less than $500 a week, so my bank won't qualify that, because I know that because I work with the banker. I've been working with him for 11 years. So I can do further things here now to go in and make this process, good night, buddy, to go in and make this process even easier and even more robust for our end client. All right. But we've done a pretty good job so far. So what you had there before, you see what you had there before. We have now changed what you had there before, and we have turned it into this right here. So the only other thing that I would want to do is just go in here and grab this guy and delete this guy right here and add him in there. And then automatically continue. Hey. Automatically continue this guy to there, that yes to there, and this no to wherever that no goes. And I can either do it like that, or I can come in and add this condition where this should be any. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to go in and add these guys like this, because it's going to be much faster if I go in and just add these guys like this than if I try to go in and just add that one condition to every dude. If I go in and try to add that extra conditional clause to all of these, it will take me much more time than if I just delete these guys, copy and paste these guys with those guys that we actually created, because I know that these things are all exactly the same. So since they're all the same, it's just going to be faster for me to go in and do this. And I like the route of less resistance, just like water. I like to do the easiest shit as possible. And I have heard from several of the very successful business owners that I follow that if you want a very successful business, then you should not necessarily hire smart people or hardworking people. You should actually really just hire smart, lazy people. Because if you hire smart, lazy people, they will actually find the most efficient way to do everything, because they're smart and they're lazy. So since they're lazy, they don't want to do a bunch of work. And I don't like work. So, I mean, I don't mind work and I'll do work, but I like to do the least amount of work. Oh, snap. Snap. Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Hello?
Snap, I need one more. Hey, buddy. Complete. let's go back to that guy one more time. And then let's come in and take this guy out of test mode and put him into production mode. And then let's just publish him. And then let's come in to here and let's start this application. And we're only going to do this so that we can go to that. And actually we can't do it because there's no way to actually get out of this guy. But I just wanted to actually show you that if I was to go in here and say 6/26/1986, and there is some way to actually show you. Thanks, Topos. So I'm living on 123. Help me. I got a P Street. All right, so I'm just going to say, how long have you been at the address? Sure, great. I've been there freaking forever. So I'm going to come over here to this inventory flow for no reason at all. And I'm going to edit this guy. And then, holy shit. Seriously? That's what I got to do next. Get out of here, Bianca. No way. I'm going away from this guy. I got to get away from that guy. I'm going to go to default reply. Yeah, this one looks great. So I'm going to preview this one. Yay. I got a default reply. There we go. Now I got a default reply. Are you leaving, Topos? Are you waiting to tell me bye, buddy? Good night, Topos. Enjoy your night, buddy. All right. So if I remember right, I was at how long have you been at your address? So this allows our user, you see our users went into some other flow, right? Somehow he's got to some other flow, most likely. In this case, since we don't have any, since we're doing all user input with all text options for the most part, there's no way for him to actually exit this process unless we have a menu and he clicks on our menu. All right. And let's say that's essentially what he did. He clicked on our menu. So now we want to go in and actually inject him back in that same, how long have you been at that address? Yay, how long have you been at the address? He doesn't actually have to repeat any of the steps that he's already done. So now what would you say? Would you say this is complete and you're good with this, or is there some other modification that we need to make here?
No, that looks a lot better. And I finally understand the conditions and the actions that need to be taken.
Great. So if you could just give me like 30 seconds, if you guys can think of any questions, I'm just going to go pee real quick. So essentially now all that would be up to you is, and I think I showed you this the other day, right? How to go in and just add your zap here and trigger your zap, where you would now, once this credit application is finished out, then you could just dump all that data out to your Google Sheet or, to an email or whatever. I'm pretty sure that we did that just the other day, right?
Right.
So this guy should be good. So my recommendation to all of you guys would be, if you're going to remember, you had all those questions in a linear sequence, just like this at the beginning. My recommendation is going to be, let's just look at that. This is credit application copy 1. It's also credit application copy 1. So these are the same, exactly the same thing. So let's come back here to our flows and let's duplicate this guy and call it credit application copy 2. And then let's rename this to credit application bad example. And let's rename this to credit application good example. And then let's just reload that guy to be our good example. And let's look at our bad example. And let's edit this guy. And let's grab that guy right there. And let's take a before look. Here's our before look. Okay, this is what it looked like before when we started. So the issues that we had whenever we started before is that, one, we had some redundant datas over here, the same redundant datas that we had over here. Okay. Two, we were looping back to the same exact flow by going to a go-to flow, and that's not naturally visually, although there's nothing wrong with this technically. Okay, so technically there's nothing wrong with this, but visually, I mean, you think, you're going to build out all these flows and to some extent, you're going to know what they do and you're going to understand what they do while they're building them. But, a month goes by, these guys want you to build a pretty complex bot, and, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, you're doing this every day, you're going to actually forget what this flow completely does and all the elements of this flow. So how are you going to remember that? Well, you're going to remember that by going in and doing a quick visual and look and understand. Now, I've tried to route this out where you could easily understand that you've got a top-down sequential process here in your Logix engine. So I've tried to make this visually where you could actually understand that this is a top-down sequential guy, where you're going to come in here, and if this condition matches, then you'll send this person over here now into this other linear progression. If it doesn't match, you're going to just continue sequentially one down the other until finally somebody matches, and you'll route that guy out just like that over here to the sequential process. If none of these guys ever route, then you're just going to exit right here. So if this guy doesn't match any of these conditions, then you're just going to follow down this sequential path all the way down, one right after another, until you finally just exit this guy right here. Okay, so I've tried to make that really easy visually for you to understand that here's a whole sequential block. One of the most basic concepts in computer engineering is these sequential guys. All right, now from these sequential guys, you basically have these go-to statements that we talked about, all right, in programming, where you're going to go and say, hey, instead of going down to the next sequence in line, I want you to skip all those guys, right? I want you to skip everything and go, instead of going to 3 and 4 in sequence, I just want you to skip over that and go straight down here to 5, which is essentially what we've done here. And I've tried to make it easy to understand that you're going to be routed over here, or you're going to be routed over here or over there, right? So this is kind of easy to understand that you're going from a sequential top down here, and then you're just routing these guys over here and essentially going one right after another, right? Unless this condition is wrong, and then you're going down there. So visually it makes it, once you start to build things like this and you start to see these flows, you'll see this generic pattern and a lot of different flows. Okay, for example, if I was to come into my bot and I were to go into something in my bot and look for seg, look at this bot training segmentation. So if I were to actually go into this guy, all right, and look at this guy, then you can see a very similar thing. All right, you see a very similar pattern. Now it's a little bit distinct, but if I were to go in and actually do that, right, and then come in here and grab some of these guys like this, and then move them over here to where they're now in this linear pattern right there, then you could see that this engine right here looks very similar to what you have right there. And then this sequence here looks very similar to what is right there. And then these connections down here coming to this look very similar to what you have right here with this. And this will become a very familiar pattern where you can see, oh, instead of doing what you were doing in your first, in the before section, right? In the before section, literally you just have everything down in one linear, which this you wouldn't even be able to publish out. I don't know why they're actually allowing you to publish this, because this should actually give you an error, right? Because we can clearly see that we have more than 10 pieces of content created. But instead of going in and having a linear sequence like this, where you're going to ask 10 questions in a row, or in your case, 11 questions in a row, then my recommendation is always first have some logic block, and then break these questions up into individual questions. When you start each question, just set a variable for this particular flow, what step the user is on, so that you can keep track of how far that they have actually made it in this process. Because then at any time you could go in and actually run a check and see who is at what step in your process, and realize how many people do I have out there filling credit applications right now, and at what steps are they currently in. All right. So it allows you to keep track of that. It also allows you to go in, and now since you know what step they're on, at any time if they leave this flow for whatever reason whatsoever, then you could literally just broadcast this flow right back out to them. If there is some way, which there's not in this flow because you don't have a menu, right? And according to how you're collecting the user input, there is no way for the user to actually just exit this flow outside of clicking on your menu option that doesn't exist right now, or outside of just finishing giving you all the data. All right. So outside of that, they don't have any way to get out of this flow. But you'll notice, in a lot of times, you will give them several ways where they can exit a flow, because sometimes you'll use quick replies and the user won't use that quick reply. And as soon as they type in a text, they will now exit that flow and go into the flow for the keyword that text has triggered, or they'll go into your default reply. All right. Or they won't go into your default reply because it's already triggered once in the last 24 hours. So they'll go into the abyss of nothingness. They won't be in this flow anymore. They won't be in any flow. All right. So with this type of flow, I could literally go in and say, you know what? I want to run a query in my broadcast. All right. I want to go in and I want to create a new broadcast, and I'm going to create all that shit in my broadcast. And I want to target a condition where tag is started credit application, and also where credit application current step is less than 12. Now, this is giving me anybody that started this credit application but has not finished it. And I can see this broadcast will be sent to one user. So literally, what could I send out to this user? I could go in and send out this. All right. I can say, look, I want to send you this, which is going to be, first off, a useless tag. I'm going to add a tag called useless tag. And then I am also going to remove a tag called useless tag, because it's a fucking useless tag and I don't need it for anything. And then I am going to go to flow, and I'm going to send them to this credit application good example. Okay. So now I can go next, and I can see this will be sent to one user, John Vaughn. All right. So now I can just send this out, and then John Vaughn should get some broadcast to put him right back into that credit application process, just like he just did, exactly where he left off. So now I can go in and monitor that. You know what? It's a bad day. I don't have a lot of sales and shit. I don't have anything for my sales guys and shit to do. Guess what? I'm going to go in and I'm going to run a broadcast, and I'm going to see, you know what? I got 15 people who started the credit application. They never finished that shit. I'm going to broadcast them out today and try to get one or two of them to finish that credit application, because my sales guys need some stuff to do. I have no idea what you're asking me, Mauricio. I can only memorize the flight offers for 5 more minutes. Please make your choice before I've forgotten what they were. Oh, that's a pretty straightforward thing that you could actually just pop them. If a user hasn't answered a question, then you can just pop them into a sequence that waits for that, you know, every minute or every so often up until 5 minutes, it sends them out the same message. It just checks a condition to say, hey, has this guy actually made this, has this guy made this flight offer, or has he picked a flight offer? And if he hasn't, then I want to send him out as part as this step. I want to send him out this one additional message, and then I want to put him back into this flow that because essentially we could do that here. Essentially, I could go in and I could have added a user if they haven't filled this out. I could add a user to a sequence. All right. So essentially, what I could do here, all right, is what you're asking about right there. So essentially, what I could do is I could start being a ninja. All right. I could start being a ninja and I could create a new sequence called finish credit application. All right. Delete, 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 flows, open, new flow called finish credit application. Okay, got this. Hey boss, you never finished your credit application. Please take a few minutes to finish your application. You left off at step boom, boom, boom. Credit application, current step of 11. Here is where you left off. Continue, automatically continue, go to a flow. This flow is going to be called going to credit application. Good example. All right. And then we're going to go in and add a condition. And this condition is going to say, hey, if tag is not finished credit application. So if tag is not finished credit application, meaning this guy has not finished his application, I want to send him this. If that is not true, meaning tag isn't finished credit application is false, which just means you negate this isn't, which means tag is finished credit application. That is the condition that will cause you to route out here. If he has been tagged that he's finished it, I'm going to go in and add him to this, and I'm going to say, hey, unsubscribe from sequence. This sequence will be finished credit application. All right, now this thing is done. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Fast, easy, really awesome, right? So now I'll just add a new message, and this new message is going to be select existing, finish credit application, and then this guy can disappear, and this guy is going to go out after minutes, after 1 minute. Update schedule, turn on, and then I'm going to have a new message that's going to go out after 1 minute. After 1 minute, I'm going to turn this guy on. Oh, I can't. I need to select this guy. Finish credit application. Great. Now I'm going to go and say, hey, I needed to save that. Save. And then I'm going to go in and select existing, and I'm going to say finish credit application, buddy. So now I'm going to go in here and say minutes after 1 minute. All right. Now I could do that. Now, if I wanted to be really cool, and I like to be really cool, what I could do is come in here and basically take this guy, move this guy over a little bit, take this guy and say, hey, Joop, like that. Take this guy and then add in A/B split test and add in a new variation and say, hey, I want to give 33% there. Or actually, let's just give 25% there, 25% there, 25% there, 25% there. And then let's add one more of those guys. And then since we're going to just send the same repetitive message over and over and over again, and I can just say, hey, different message, continue. I can say, okay. So you can see that now all my messages are uniquely different. They're going to route into the same spot. So I'm going to route this guy right into my split test so that I can evenly distinguish, so that I can kind of randomize, and that if he never finishes this, he's not just getting the same message over and over again. He's thinking that I'm giving him a different message. So now that guy's done. Now, since that guy's done, that means that guy's done. Now, this guy technically done, except for we want to come right in here and we want to add one action, and we want to subscribe this guy to a sequence called finish credit application. And now we're going to publish that guy. And now we're going to come in here and we're just going to actually take this starting step and put him right here, because he only gets subscribed whenever he hits yes. So we basically need to go back to testing, reset our values. Now that I've actually reset my values, now I could essentially come here if I want. Now somewhere I've got this, right? So currently, if I were to come in here and take a look at this cool guy, John Vaughn, and see he's not subscribed to any sequence whatsoever. So I can see that he's waiting to get some data here. So he's just going to get some data. So why am I not getting any data from my bot? Okay, I never got any data from my bot. My bot sucks. So let's push out this data again. Thanks. Can I have my data? So let's try again. Let's wait for a minute to get our data. But this is essentially how you could do that, just how I showed you. It's pretty straightforward. You saw how I did it. So now I'm fucking did something stupid here, where for some reason, definitely couldn't have done anything stupid, because it's this guy right here that I'm not getting. And there's no reason I shouldn't get that, because that's a sequential. Here's another sequential block, right? Sequential block, go to statement, go to statement. There's that sequential block. So like I said, whenever you have these types of delays that are unexpected and they're not according to what you've actually programmed into your bot, great opportunity for you to try to show this to your client and let them know that these are the current limitations of working in an open source platform, especially in a cheap open source platform that only charges us $10 a month. Even though it's an awesome platform, they don't charge a lot. And as you can see right now, their service is not being very dependable and very reliable. So first off, let's just delete this conversation. And now let's go in and preview this guy again. Hello, Great Lakes Auto Superstore. And let's just wait a little bit. Now, if I could get this last message right here, I could continue with my credit application. But it's really not seeming possible for me to get this last message. I'm not sure why. It is not anything that I have done because this is a sequential process. So let's just take this guy. Let's not wait that long. For testing purposes, let's just change this to a 1. And let's publish that guy. Let's come back over here and say, you know, I am really tired of waiting on you to send me my message. So I'm going to preview this out now. Yay, I got a message. And see, I'm only asking for 1 second to be waiting, but he's still waiting. So I'm going to do one more, and I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to get rid of that delay. I'm also going to get rid of this delay. And then I'll publish this. Yay! I'm going to take my credit application. There we go. So now I'm apparently going to wait for no reason, even though I'm not supposed to be waiting for anything because there is no wait and delay. He's still waiting and delaying me for no reason whatsoever. Oh, you know what's happening? All those times I hit that preview button, that's what's happening. I hit that preview button all those different times. And now he's been delayed in sending me out those responses, but those responses are eventually going to get scheduled and get sent back out. So I'm going to get them in unexpected times right now. So let's take a look at this guy and see, hello, have you been subscribed to a sequence? No, you have not been subscribed to any sequence. Great. Let's wait and see if I can ever get my messages out. Yes, I will do it. Yes, I will do it. This has nothing to do with me, guys. This is all completely mini chat, waiting on mini chat to do whatever it's doing. I'm not quite sure what it's doing because it shouldn't be waiting on anything because there's nothing for it to actually wait on. So let me try again. Yes, I will do it. Yes, 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 yes. That's what your user is going to do, by the way. Your user is just going to keep mashing on that button because he's going to be really aggravated about this. Yes, I do accept those terms that you've asked me like 10 times if I accepted, and I have accepted them every single time. And like I said, here I have no option. Here I have no option whatsoever but just to browse Facebook and go to my group and add some new users to my group. 24 people want to join my group. You know what that means if 24 people want to join my group? It means that all those people that I sent a broadcast out to, they either saw my broadcast and they clicked join group, or they were nice enough to share that thing that I said, hey, if you like the fact that I'll just stop what I'm doing, stop running my company, and I will do your work for you that you're actually getting paid to do, that I'm not getting paid to do, but I'll do it just to help you be successful. If you like shit like that, please just share the group because that's what this group is about. Maybe some of those guys actually went and shared the group, and that's why I've got 24 people waiting to join it. But why is my chatbot not operating properly? Well, I have no clue. So let's go back in and try again. Can I just get my bot to send me out some information? Awesome. Yes. Can we move forward? Is it possible to move forward? Started credit application. Finish credit application. sequence, finish credit application, send finish credit application, finish credit application. Everything is looking fine and dandy. If tag isn't finish credit application, means if you're not tagged that you want to finish credit application, then I want to send you to one of these messages so that you can then go back to that credit application. If you are tagged that you have finished your credit application, I want to unsubscribe you from this sequence because there's no reason for you to be in it because you've already finished your credit application. So let me just bypass that step. When is my birthday? Thanks. My birthday is some date. Let me check John Vaughn. He is subscribed to finish credit application. So 6/26/1986. I guess I'm not allowed to move forward anymore. So there's not much that I can do about this unless I can get those guys at MiniChat to hire my company and go in and fucking build them an application that works in a very scalable way where they don't get their API overloaded and they don't get their server overloaded, which is essentially what is causing this dilemma. And since they banned me from their group, they probably are not going to hire my company to build a proper application for them, which is no big deal because I still love their application because it is still pretty cool for what it does. But do you guys get the point of how this actually works? So essentially how this works is whenever they decide to start a credit application, we're going to, at that point, subscribe them to this sequence, all right? This sequence is going to say, hey, I want you to wait 1 minute, and after 1 minute, I want you to go in and send out this message. This message is just going to first check and say, hey, has this guy went in and finished his credit application? If so, I want to unsubscribe him from this because he doesn't need to get this message prompting him to finish his credit application. If he hasn't finished it, then I'm going to equally distribute him to one of these generic messages that essentially all say the same thing. They just use a slightly different terminology to say it, so he doesn't receive the same message over and over and over again. And then after I deliver that message, I'm going to route him right back into that credit application. I'm going to route him right back in there. And he's going to come right back in here, and he's going to come through my logics block, and he's going to be put in whatever step that he was actually at. And see, he's just got, when is your birthday? 6/26/1986. I can also see that there's a big delay coming from MiniChat because none of those sequence messages have actually been fired like they should have been because I know when minutes went by. So just assume that on a good day, just take my word for it, on a good day, this would work if we weren't having issues with MiniChat. So maybe if you guys actually looked at MiniChat, if you guys aren't banned for their group like me, you could just look in their group and see, is there a lot of people in their group posting and saying, what the fuck's wrong with MiniChat? It's not working. My broadcasts aren't going out, or my growth tool is not working, or this isn't working. And if you see activity like that, then you can just assume that they're just having some internal issues. Maybe they've just pushed out an update, which I know they recently have. And every time they push out an update, inherently just through the nature of software development, things break, things happen like this, and they have to go in and fix them. And it lasts for a couple of days, and then everything's back to normal. So if that wasn't the case, then I would just recommend we just wait a little bit of time, and then maybe it will actually work. So let's ask my bot. So now you see I'm starting to get those sequence messages. There's my sequence messages. So yay, MiniChat's going crazy. So let's just see now, is it working? Let's remove this guy from there. let's come back over here and go back to testing mode real quick. Publish this guy. Delete this guy. Preview this guy. Oh, he's coming. Publish this guy. Yes, can I start, please? Can you ask me about my birthday? Please. Nope. Don't, Medi chat. Can I have a refund on my $10, please? Never mind. Keep my $10. When's my birthday? Shit, my birthday is there an FU emoji? Yeah, there's my birthday. What is my street address? So we'll just wait and see if we can just wait for a minute, and we should just get that message pop up again. That's going to say, hey, buddy, what's your street address? Because I know if I come here now, and if I were to look here, I should be subscribed to that sequence. See, I'm subscribed to that sequence. So I should just wait for a second. Approximately 1 minute. We'll give that, give or take, a couple minutes. And I'm not actually getting the thing. Wow, my submission for Messenger platform got approved. Yay. Now, if you guys want to get more subscribers in your bot, then one thing I would recommend that you do is you come right here to this Messenger platform. You see this is in your page settings. You just come to your page where your bot's at, and then you go to page settings, and then you come right down here to Messenger platform, and then you come right down here to discovery settings, and you submit your app for discovery, okay? Now, whenever you submit your app for discovery, inside Messenger, whenever you go discover, people will be able to find your bot based on some keywords. And let's take a look and see if I even know how that works, since I can't get this bot to actually do anything useful right now. So let's go in and join a meeting. I know. So let's share my screen. And let's come in here to Messenger. So I just wanted to try. Hey, shut up. And let's come in here to somewhere in here is going to be like, hey, discover something. Oh, yeah. Discover chatbots. Hey, what keyword should I give here? Keyword chatbot bot, Facebook bot. Bot. And discover. Hey, look, there's random demo bot. See? I just discovered him right there. You guys see him? There he is right there. So now obviously you can see that you will get more subscribers, because when people come in discover and they're like, oh shit, I want to find some stupid bots, then they could just click on the bot and bam, now they're inside your bot, right? So like I said, you can just do what I did, and you can come right in here. This is my wife, by the way. She's really mad at you guys because I'm ignoring her and teaching you guys how to do these. Yeah. You see how sweet she is? She's like, no, I'm not mad at them. Don't tell them. So what you do, what you do is you just come to this Messenger platform, and it would look something like this on your page. If you don't have it actually approved yet, you would come over here to settings. You would come here to Messenger platform, and then you would come down here and you would set this up. All right. and you're going to give all this information here, and then you're just going to submit it. And if Facebook denies it, then you're just going to submit it again, and if they deny it, you're just going to submit it again, and you're just going to keep doing that shit. No matter how many times they deny it, you're just going to keep submitting it, and eventually they'll just be like, well, fuck, this dude won't stop, so let's just approve their bot. All right, and that's it. That's the trick to doing that. They're going to deny you for the first couple of times, and then you just show them like, hey, guys, I'm serious about this. I want to have my bot discovered, so could you just make it discoverable? And they'll be like, nope. And you can just be like, okay, fine, I'm going to put in this request again. And it's going to be the same person getting the same request over and over, and they're physically required to go through a process of accepting or rejecting your request. And eventually they get tired of that. If they realize that every time they reject it, you're just going to resubmit it. Now they have to do it over again. They get tired of looking at the exact same bot. So eventually they're just like, all right, fine, I'll accept this bot. So this guy will stop doing that. And then that's how it actually gets accepted, like that. Now, Bianca, I can't really tell you what's going on right here. Because I know that you should have already, I can see that your bot's no longer responsive right now, right? He's not answering anything. Let's see if this guy's actually answering anything. This guy's also not answering anything. So this other bot's also not doing anything at all. So I would say that this is just some mini chat issue that we're having right here because things aren't actually working as they should. So my bot's not working as it should. Your bot's not working as it should. It could be that I'm a complete noob and I have no clue what I'm doing and I've done all this shit wrong, but I can almost guarantee you that is not the case. That there's some issue on the mini chat side and we just have to wait some time. But like I said, now here is your after over here somewhere. Here's your before. So here's your before flow, what it looked like before. Here is, hey, is there an after? Sure. Here's your after flow. This flow has been greatly modified, and then we just added in this process here where you're going to subscribe that user to the sequence, where now once they're in the sequence, you're going to attempt for 3 minutes to try to get them to finish. Now, you could go in and obviously continue to add this on and say, hey, I'm going to try for 3 minutes, and then if they don't do it, then I'm going to wait, and then after a day, I'm going to go in and I'll try again after 1 day, and then I'll get them to do it. And then you could just keep adding this to an indefinite amount of sequences until finally this guy's like, shit, I better finish this or unsubscribe from this bot or something. So any questions, concerns whatsoever that you have that you'd like me to answer?
No, you answered everything. Thanks.
Great. So now are you confident that you can go in and actually do your other flows now according to this type of model?
I'm going to do those. And then if you don't mind if I send them to you once they're done, just so you can look at those.
Yeah. So if you just don't come here and if you just don't remove me from here yet and just leave me here for some time, whenever you're done, you can just message me and tell me what flows they are. And I can just go in and check them out. Considering that at some point in time, our bots actually start working again. Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns? Nope. All right, guys. It's been great. Enjoy your day. Thanks a lot.